Hey gang, welcome back to another video. If you're an agency owner running ads, this is a really cool content cycle across the next 30 days to make sure you're shipping enough creatives to see a change in your results, in your improvement. It's 4 key cycles that we really try to stick to with all of our agency clients. And we've been seeing some amazing results recently with paid ads. People getting booked out, 4 to 7 new clients getting closed every month inside of their agencies off the back of like 1,200 to 3K in ad spend. So some really cool results, but off the back of this kind of content cycle. So if you don't have this, you're not going to get as good of results over the next 60 to 90 days where you're making big investments into your ad account. And if you do follow this content cycle, then you'll get a lot more leads, a lot more book calls, and a lot more new clients closed if your sales process is good too, over the next 3 months, hopefully. So let's get into this model. So we've got 30 days all the way up the top here. You got 7 days, you got 14 days, and you got 21 days here. So you've got 4 sections, 4 brackets in this content cycle. And the first phase that we're going to talk about here is the testing phase. Yeah, you guys all know you should test creatives, but I want to tell you something, a couple key things on how you can test effectively, because again, everybody knows they need to test more, but no one does test more. And a lot of you guys sorely, hugely underestimate the amount of creatives that you really need to be testing before you kind of find your good creative angles. So here's what we do. For a 7-day period, we are constantly, until we get a good result, which I'll kind of talk about in a second here, what a good result actually looks like. We are constantly going through the 7-day cycle. My main goals that I'm trying to achieve with results is if I have a cost per lead anywhere between 50 to $100 from a direct response funnel. I know some of you guys, run these lead magnets and stuff like that, and you're getting $5 leads. Cool, man. How much does it cost you to acquire a client? That's the big question. And if you run a really good, effective, strong direct response funnel, you can generate $50 to $100 cost per lead. You can get, for the next stage, which is a cost per booked call, anywhere between $100 to $200 cost per book call. And then you want your cost per, you got cost per live call, which is your triage call. Then you have your drop-off rate to cost per strategy call. Then you have your drop-off rate for cost, the strategy call to offer, and then the offer to close. So there's so many different drop-off rates in between cost per booked call, which is this section, and then cost per close. And then, I'm just going to kind of skip a couple steps, but you'll typically see people that will close clients anywhere between 750 to 2K at the moment. That's kind of what I'm seeing across 115 accounts. That's typically what you're acquiring clients for. Some are more expensive, but then the average client value is a lot higher. Some are cheaper, but they're only spending $1,000 to $2,000 a month on ads. So your costs are going to be obviously, the metrics look better with a non-scaled up account. You start spending 5K, all of a sudden the law of averages start to hit you. And you really just see these kinds of numbers. So let's say that you're running ads for a couple of weeks, especially for a lot of you guys getting started. $50 a day, $100 a day is what you're really comfortable with spending. You're kind of going to go around this cycle, even though you might have passed 7 days. You're spending $50 a day across one campaign, one ad set, 3 different ads. You got to wait at least 14 to 21 days for it to really get enough budget for you to get back some data and then see if you're happy with any of these results over here. The big thing to do is just to continue to make it creatives throughout this period. So here's my little hack when you are trying to test. From Tuesdays, what I would find myself doing to get into this habit, because we want to be habitual with our creative testing. So what I would do is I would go from Tuesday 8 to 9:30. I would do scripting. And I used to love, man, when my ads would show up on my feed and I would see them and I'd be like, oh my goodness, that's so cringe, dude. You look like an idiot. And that did not sound like how I wanted it to. I'm going to go back and rewrite the script, on my Tuesday event, and I'm going to change that body. I'm going to change that hook. I'm going to change the offer, and I'm going to start to use different edits and cuts because it's not landing how I, expected it to now that I see it on my feed. So every Tuesday, habitually, we would be scripting out some content, some ads. And then Wednesdays, I would go from 8 to 9:30 and I would do shooting. And these two events would be in my calendar every single week. And, it was good because I kind of liked having the scripting done, put it away, do work, sleep on it, come back the next day, read it again, make some edits and changes, and then shoot over the next 60 minutes. So that was kind of like my process, and it really helped me. What you really want to do throughout this testing phase is just try to achieve these results. And if you can get these results, then you can move on to the next stage, which is what we're going to call the refinement stage. Refinement. So what happens is it's I kind of already touched on it. You see the creative show up in your feed, and you just want to make refinements. You want to see some of the stuff that you're producing, and you want to make adjustments to the hooks, adjustments to the offers, adjustments to the CTAs, then landing pages. I always go through my funnel when the ads just get launched. I feel like the forms, I go through the whole experience, make sure that what I'm going through is what my prospects are going to enjoy. So that says small adjustments equal big outcomes. So you want to, over the next 7 to 14 days, as you're really starting to get close to, that $175 cost per lead, that, maybe your cost per book call is $250. All you're doing is throughout this section here, you're just making smaller adjustments, refining the text, the proof that's getting shown, the edits that you're using. Another really valuable thing is when you see, how in two ads might come up back to back, you might see your ad that comes up first, and you might see somebody else's ad, and you just look at the other person's ad. It's like a nice quality camera, the edits look clean, their proof is way better, and then you kind of realize, because a lot of people just think, I'm just going to launch ads and get leads. They don't realize that, dude, you're competing with like everybody else that's running ads. And even just if they're not even in your market, if you look at, maybe I'm selling agency services, but I don't sell like gym equipment. But if my ad came up first and the second ad was gym equipment and that came up after, and the gym equipment one was punchy, sharp, hit all the right benefits that the consumer wanted, and it's what it's what really jumped out and appealed, and it was high quality, marked up. If that's what is getting compared to your ad, then again, you have to rise up to the level of creativity that the whole market of people advertising on social media is at. And it's a really good wake-up call when you realize, oh my goodness, I'm so far behind. So I need to make some small adjustments, upgrade my gear, upgrade my script, make it punchier, have more leverage with good proof, so on and so forth. So throughout this 7 to 14 days, you're kind of just making smaller adjustments to the script, because it really starts with the script, then you can do the shooting and creatives. And that will start to dial in the metrics a little bit more. It'll start to lower your cost per lead. Do not think that you're just going to launch a script, shoot some creatives, and get good results. It's a whole process of, I've seen people with big agencies spend 3 to 6 months refining their script and process until they finally nail it. They finally find the tonality, what works for them. Cool. Sweet as. So then between kind of like the 14 to 21 days, again, there's nothing wrong with you sitting in this cycle until you're getting these results. But here's the danger, and there is a big danger, which is getting into the next stage, which is the results stage. Now, this is probably the most important thing that I'll say this whole video, and that's when people start to hit these results, which are these results here, okay? You start getting a cost per lead of $50, right? And you're getting people booking in calls. Maybe you've got to refine your sales process, because that's usually the next thing that breaks. People are getting in great leads. They've never had inbound leads, cold inbound leads generated to book into their calendars. They don't know how to deal with it, and they've got to learn this. We teach a two-call sales process. We teach you how to do presentation pitches, audit pitches, verbal pitches, model and system pitches. You got to get good at that, and then it all equates to ROI, return on your investment, with your paid ads. So, but what I find is once you get past that hurdle, you're selling, you're getting a couple clients across the door, happy days, is that people still put themselves in the refinement stage. and they're getting a $50 to $100 cost per lead, and they're closing new clients. They're getting a 3, 4, 5 times return on their money, and they try to change everything else except for one lever. And they're making micro changes to a bunch of smaller levers to get a micro outcome. Whereas the macro outcome that you're really looking for is this one big lever to pull, which is ad spend. And some of the best case studies that I've ever gotten, guys that I think about, Lucas Jensen, who went from 13K a month to over 350K a month with his painting, lead gen agency for painting companies. Parker, 20K a month to over 200K a month, Tough Media, gave him this advice. I've given so many agency owners this advice, where we would open up their ad account, have a look, and they'd be like, dude, what do I change my hook? Is the offer strong enough? And I'm like, dude, you're looking at it too head in the sand. And I would just say spend more, because everything is really relative to how much you are spending. So to kind of put a bow on this, when you get results, don't sit in refinement stage anymore. Start to look to increase your spend. All right. When you increase your spend, you will start to see higher levels of acquisition, more clients coming in. Now, granted, we're agency model. We're working with marketing. We're a marketing agency, and we're working with clients. Can we onboard 8, 12, 16 clients in 1 month? I bet you if we onboarded 8 clients in your account or in your business, you might shit yourself. And you might be like, oh my goodness, this is way too much work. So then you've got to manage the onboarding system. And how do you systemize that? How do you streamline it? How do you have yourself involved as much as you need to, and then get your team involved? How does your team relay a very clear foundation system, your genius in what they're delivering to the client, and have it relate to what was said on the sales call? So there's so many limitations. You pull one lever, another one pops back up. You're like, oh crap, I got to go over there and fix that now. So again, this is all in consideration with every other piece that you've got to have folding for working inside of the agency. But again, we're not going to talk about all the problems in this video. We're just going to talk about results. So once you do get good results, identify it, start to ramp up your spend if you can, and then manage your new clients coming in internally. And then with the third and final stage is, I call it the recycle phase. So recycle stage, we'll call it. The recycle stage is, a lot of people think that they have to really kind of like write out again what this entirely new script is, or come up with a completely new offer. I'm a big believer in teaching few lessons, but teaching them very often. And if you've got a very clear system, very clear offer, you just want to run that and rinse it as much as you can. But there's only small things that you want to change. Just change the environment. Change the order, change your hooks. The hooks are really the biggest things that I'll be changing. Being more informative, storytelling, bringing in more experience, leveraging more proof, small things to tweak with the script, but the script format should more or less stay the same. And if you ever wanted to see a format, I've shot a video lesson, I think it was 2 weeks ago, where you can go see exactly how we would format out an ad script. But this is really key, which is when you got a good ad formula, don't make a totally new one. Just rinse and repeat what you can literally say the exact same word for word script, and just change your background, just change your environment. Have a different kind of hook pop up, and then just keep everything else the same. People want to feel like it's a new thing, because there's so many different ways that you can just add a certain bit of wording that just makes someone take action. So a quick kind of saying here is, don't fix what ain't broke. I'm a big believer in that. So don't fix what ain't broke. If you're getting good results, keep rinsing it. And you can just change small things to get a better result. So my advice, if you're an agency owner running paid ads, sit as long as you can in the testing phase until you get some good, solid metrics into your ad account. To improve them, if you feel like you're on the right track, get into that refinement, just making sure that you're dialing in, changing hooks, changing leverage, changing proof, changing offers. Offers is a huge one. Obviously, if you watch the other video, you'll hear me talk about that. And then once you do start to get results, don't live in the refinement stage. Start scaling things up. Of course, manage things internally. And then when you are seeing that ad fatigue, which will hit everything. You don't have to completely come up with a totally new ad script. Recycle what worked before and use a simple formula again that was getting you results before. Just change small things like your environment. So that's my 30-day content creative cycle for you agency owners running ads. Hope this video helped. We help marketing agency owners. If you wanted to ever chat with us, there's a link below. Jump on a 50-minute call and we'll talk about your agency and what you're stuck on. And that's basically it. Other than that, also don't feel like you need to, and we'll see you in the next YouTube video. And we'll bring value every week to every fortnight. Thanks, guys.